I hope you had a great holiday, great Christmas. Those times when we get together, things are happening. We're sharing this time together. Things are happening that become memories that later we'll just share those memories. And speaking of things happening and becoming memories, one of a friend of mine, he's from Kazakhstan. So he shared a story that happened to them when they came to the U.S. Him and his friend, their families, two families came, and they knew some people on the East Coast and the West Coast, and so they were driving from coast to coast. I don't remember; it doesn't matter where, but somewhere in the middle, they were just like in a van, two families. So they were driving, and then they stopped at a gas station to get some gas and use the restroom, of course. And so then they did all that. They get back in the car, and they start driving. And so they keep driving, and then about 2 or 3 hours later, one of those guys says, "Oh no!" So that's the last thing you want to hear when you're driving, like in the middle of nowhere, and one of the guys, your friend says, "Oh no!" And so he says, "Stop!" So they pull over, and what happened was he forgot his wallet in the restroom at that gas station. The wallet with the money, his ID, so everything there. So what they realize is they need to turn around and drive another 2 or 3 hours back. Try to find that gas station. I mean, if you're in a really long trip, you don't really memorize all the places that you stop, right? I mean, it's just, you have to go. So they get back, they try to find that place. Eventually they do. They even find the wallet. Yeah. All the dollar bills were missing, of course. The wallet was there. The IDs were there. The dollar bills were missing. There was about, I can't remember for sure, but it was like several $100s. But they had also had 500 or 700 euros, and they were still there. So whoever took the dollars, they were like, "I don't know what this is, so we're not going to bother." So, and at that point in time, and I think it's still there, it's a little bit more expensive than the dollar, so whatever. And so that was the time. You can imagine the heat and the that the guy was experiencing later, yeah, because it cost him like from somewhere between 5 to 6 hours just to go back, and then you drive back, okay? So but they, years later, they were just laughing about it, but at the moment, I'm sure it was not as funny. And if you ever forgot something, lost something that you had to come back and look for, you know that feeling when you realize that you have to come all the way back. Maybe you lost something and you're just like, you can't find it, and you're trying to remember where you were. So you make your route, like you go back and you just like, where was I? Okay, what was I doing? So you go and you try to find it everywhere you went. Or maybe you left the house without something. You went on a trip. You forgot something that's essential, something that's important, something that you needed for the trip. And then maybe, I don't know, sometime later you realize that, and you understand that you have to turn around and come back. And we try to, because it's inconvenient, it's uncomfortable, it's time-consuming, so we try to avoid that at all costs. We don't want to turn around and come back to get the stuff. So if we can do without, we will do that. But sometimes we have to. So today's, the story that I want us to look at today kind of remind me of that. And without further ado, let's just jump into it. It's in Luke chapter 17. It's a well-known story. You probably read it or heard it many, many times. This is what I wanted us to look at today. So let's read Luke 17, starting at verse 11. Now, on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee. As he was going into a village, 10 men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, "Jesus, Master, have pity on us." When he saw them, he said, "Go show yourselves to the priests." And as they went, they were cleansed. One of them, when he saw he was healed, came back, praising God in a loud voice. He threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus asked, "Were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner?" Then he said to him, "Rise and go. Your faith has made you well." So, you just looking at the story, you may think, this is a weird choice of a story for the holiday season. I mean, we just had Christmas, a lot of joy, a lot of laughter, a lot of smiles. Why pick this story about people being sick with leprosy? All the suffering and pain that came with it. But I think it's a perfect story for the end of the year, and let me explain. So, basically, this is the story about a group of people in a very desperate situation. They were in a very desperate situation. I mean, leprosy was pretty much a slow death sentence. If you had that disease, it was incurable, so you couldn't stay and live with your people. You lose everything that you had in life before, until that moment. You lose everything that you love. You lose your people, the people that you love. You lose your family. You can't be with anybody. You cannot even live among the people. You cannot continue the life that you're used to. You have to go and live at the camp outside the city, being separated from the people. You can't go to work. You can't spend time with your family. You can't go to worship. You can't do anything. You can't have any hobbies. You just have to be outside, separated from the rest of the people, just pretty much waiting till your life is over. And whenever they went somewhere, the law said that they had to warn people. They had to wear special clothing, and they had to scream, shout, "Unclean, unclean," warning people that they were approaching so that people could get away, distance themselves from you. Can you imagine a life like that? You know that there's something that's wrong with you. You're sick, and you have to tell everybody so that they can get away. They can't be near you. What a life. That's what all those 10 people had. That's their life. That was their life. For some, it was longer. For some, it was shorter. But I'm sure they were ready to be done with it. And so this lifetime opportunity comes. The guy that they probably heard was walking around healing people, doing miracles. He comes to their place, to their area. And so they stand at a distance and they call to him, "Jesus, have mercy, have pity on us." They're crying out, asking for him to have mercy. And they get healed. Jesus tells them, "Go and show yourselves to the priest," which usually people had to do it when they thought they were healed. When they thought they were healed, they would go and show themselves to the priest. And the priest would look at them, examine them, and say, "Yeah, you're clean now. You can go back to your life." So Jesus says, "Go show yourself to the priest." And I guess in this situation, if you are in such a desperate situation, whatever people tell you, someone who people say has power to heal you, whatever he says, you are willing to do it. So all 10 take off, and the passage that we just read, it says, as they went. So somewhere along that trip, somewhere along their way, they get healed. Can you imagine the excitement? I mean, they're just walking. They don't know why he sent them to the priest. They were like, okay, I guess we're going to go. Whatever, maybe the priest is going to do something special. So you walk, and maybe they were walking through the people, where people were, and maybe they were doing something that they were so used to doing, proclaiming their disease, proclaiming their uncleanness. Say, unclean, unclean, and then one of them realizes, oh, I don't have leprosy anymore. And look at you, you don't have that either. Can you imagine that excitement? You were probably just doing flips and jumping and shouting and giving each other high fives and hugs and everything. They were proclaiming their diseases, but they realized that moment that you realize that you're not that anymore. And all those 10 people, all of them, had things they could just run to. Their families, their wives, their children, their hobbies, their work, their friends, their businesses, their football games, practices, vacations, a lot of things that they could just take off and run to. And that's what 9 did. And only one person out of 10 returned to say thank you to the one who healed him. I mean, this person also had things I'm sure he was excited to get back to. I don't know how long he was sick. I don't know how long he was separated from those things. But I'm sure it was too long. But instead of doing that, he decides that the first thing that he would do is go back to Jesus and thank him. And when he comes back, Jesus highlights the importance of gratitude. The guy comes and he says, has not all 10 been healed? Was only one person healed? Where are the rest of them? So just by a couple of sentences, Jesus highlights the importance of gratitude. And I think when he says, go, your faith has made you well, I don't think he's only talking about the faith, like the faith of the person. And you may disagree, but I kind of think that he's talking about, it wasn't, if you think about who actually healed, it was God and his power. It wasn't the faith. The faith is not always necessary for God to work. I mean, the Bible shows several different stories where people had no idea. They had no faith, and God still healed them. So, you can't say that faith always, or great faith, is always required for somebody to be healed. It's good to have faith, but God can do things in spite of our faith, how big or how small it is. But I think Jesus is talking more about having the faith. I think he's talking about our heart as well. I think he's talking about the heart healing. He's saying that to the guys because, it wasn't just this guy that was healed. All 10 of them were healed. So him saying, go, because your faith has healed you, has made you well, would not make sense because all 10 of them were healed. So I think he's talking about the guy's heart. I think he's telling him, I think your heart is in the right place. I think you understand grace. I think you understand mercy. I think you don't take it for granted that God healed you. You took it as a gift, and you came back to say thank you to the one who gave you this gift. You didn't act like you were entitled to God doing this for you. Or you didn't act like God owes you something. You were grateful. You were grateful. So this is why I think this is a great story for us, especially at this time of the year. Because this story happens to all of us a lot. I mean, we are so richly blessed that sometimes we just stop noticing it and paying attention. We're so richly blessed that sometimes we get so preoccupied with our blessings that we forget the blesser. We run and rush towards the things that God blessed us with, filled our lives with, that we forget about the one who blessed us with those things. And it's not just the material things that I'm talking about. Because if we look at the material things, we can always complain. We can always find somebody who has more, who has bigger, who has newer. God has blessed us so much. And like those lepers, we get so preoccupied with our blessings that we just run to enjoy our families. We run to enjoy our wealth, the houses, the everything that we have. Sometimes we get into thinking that it's a given. I mean, we start taking things for granted. We enjoy the blessings without being grateful. And then when something goes wrong, when we're so focused on the blessings, when something goes wrong, we can get angry with God. If we forget how blessed we are, if we're not grateful for the things that we have, when something goes wrong, we'll run the risk of getting mad with God. Like, why is this happening? Why did you take this away? Why did you not give me what I wanted, what I was asking for? There's a story of two friends that met, kind of ran into each other, and one of them was just super sad. I mean, he was just like heartbreaking. And the other guy, his friend looked at him and was like, "What's wrong? Why are you so sad? What happened to you?" And he goes, "Well, let me tell you. 3 weeks ago, my uncle died, and he left me $20,000. And the guy goes, "That's a good amount of money." He goes, "Yeah, wait, it's not everything. 2 weeks ago, my aunt that I barely knew, she dies, and she left me $80,000. He goes, "Well, you are truly a blessed man." He goes, "Wait, last week, my cousin dies, and he leaves me $250,000. And the guy goes, "I don't understand what's wrong with you. That's a lot of money. You're a blessed man. Why are you so sad?" And he goes, "This week, nothing." I mean, when you put it this way, it's easy for us to think, why are you not grateful for the blessings that you got, right? When we look in the mirror, it's not so easy to see those things. It's so hard to appreciate, to be grateful for all the blessings that we have. And Luke encourages us to be 1 out of 10, to be the one. To be the one who sees the blessings from God, to be the one who is grateful for the blessings, to be the one who thanks God for the blessings we have, instead of complaining and whining about the blessings that we don't have. So the question that I want us to think about at this time of the year is, will I be the one? Will I be the one? And we can be the one daily, every day. And the fact that this guy was a Samaritan, Luke, he's very detailed. He's very precise in the things that he writes. And so when he says that he came, and then he adds, and he was a Samaritan, I don't think it's an accident. The fact that the guy was a Samaritan makes the story shine even brighter. I mean, the chosen people, the people of Israel, those people, they failed to acknowledge and thank God for the greatest miracle in their life. The Samaritan, this half-breed, the people that Israelites despised, he understands, he appreciates, and he comes back to say thank you to the one who blessed him, to the one who gave him the greatest thing that he could ever ask or dream of. Our heart is what matters the most. So it's a time at the end of the year when the whole year has gone by. It's a good time. This is the time when a lot of people are looking into the next year. We're talking about setting goals, making decisions that we just kind of give up on a week or two into the year. So a lot of people are focused on the next year. What is the next year going to be like? What do I want to do next year? What is it going to be for me? But I think it's also important. Today is the last Sunday of the year. I think it is important for us to stop and look back at the year that we had and say, am I really grateful to God for my salvation, for the forgiveness of sins that I got through Jesus Christ? Or do I take those things for granted? Do I feel entitled to have the things that I have? Or am I grateful? Am I thankful? Do I ever feel like God owes me something? Do I act like it? What do my prayers reflect? If I get a transcript of my prayers, what would it indicate? How much gratitude would I find in there? It's the end of the year. I think it's a good time to look ahead, to plan things, to think about what's coming, to set goals, but it's also a great time for us to look back and say, God, I am so thankful. Thank you. Thank you. And then ask yourself, will I be the one? Or make a decision. I will be the one. I will be the one who is grateful. I will be the one who knows that every perfect gift comes from our Father in heaven. And I will acknowledge that, and I'll be grateful for every single one of them, instead of complaining about the ones that I didn't get. It's kind of like, sometimes that's what kids do. You give them different presents for Christmas. The siblings or the friends, they're together. They just got a present. They didn't have 5 minutes before. They got it. But they're not happy with theirs because they're looking at the one that somebody else got. They're like, I don't know, I want this. I want this and that. That's what we become sometimes. We're not satisfied. We're not grateful. And God wants us to be grateful because gratitude is essential for our faith. Gratitude is vital for our relationship with God. Gratitude is what keeps our hearts pure and soft and responsive to God. Here's what I want to challenge you, to ask you to do, okay? Sometime this week, sit down where nobody's going to bother you for a few minutes. Sit down and make a list of the things that you are grateful for. And then make that a part of your prayers. Because I think a lot of the times our prayers are more like a wish list. Ask, 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 and not enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I know what happens when I do this. Maybe, I don't know, percentage-wise, I don't know how many of you will do it. So I want to do something different today, okay? Everybody has a phone. Everybody has like a app. If you have an iPhone, I think the app is called Notes. So what I would like for you to do is pull out a phone right now at the church. Hey, Extraordinary Sunday, preacher asks you to pull out your phone. Look at your phone. Get distracted for a second. Open that note app and write down one thing. One thing. Just create a new note and put down one thing that you are thankful to God for. You can do two, but at least one. If you have a notebook and a pen, write it down. Okay. All I wanted to do is for us to make the first step. Save that note and just add to it later. You made the first step. I'm sure it's not going to be difficult to find things that we're grateful for. And like I said, it's not just the material things. The fact that we could just get up and come here today is a gift of God. When we get older, when things in our body don't work anymore like they were used to, we start realizing, hey, it's a gift to wake up in the morning when not everything hurts, when I can just go and do things that I need to do myself without somebody's help. It's a gift. It's a blessing. To have people in my family, like people that I love, people that are next to me, it's a gift. To have the forgiveness of sins that I don't have to worry about every day depending on my performance, it's a gift. It's grace. It's what we get and have through Jesus Christ. And you go on and on and on and on and on. To be a part of the church that's welcoming, that's warm, that's, acts a lot like a family. It's a gift. It's an incredible blessing that not very many people in the world have. So, I hope that we will step into the next year as grateful people, that we will be the one thanking God, the author and the creator of everything, the one who blesses us, the one who loves us, and the one who has great plans for all of us.